I'm Wing from the Starling Tribune, a podcast member of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the one you're listening to now. The opinions expressed are those of each individual. Check out all other podcasts at GonnaGeekNetwork.com and get ready because geekiness begins in 3, 2, 1.
You have been granted clearance by Director Phil Coulson. Stand by for S.H.I.E.L.D. debriefing. All information to be discussed here is classified and may only be discussed among agents granted clearance by the S.H.I.E.L.D. Director.
Now it's time for your scheduled debriefing. I'm Agent Stargate Pioneer.
I'm Agent Haley.
And I'm Witten Avocado At Law.
Welcome to Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., a Marvel Comic Universe podcast. This is podcast number 83 on Daredevil Season 1, Episode 8, Shadows in the Glass. This podcast is recorded on Wednesday, July 29th, 2015. Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a fan-based podcast on the ABC television show Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Marvel's Agent Carter, Marvel's Daredevil on Netflix, and the general Marvel comic universe.
Because of Hammerhead Fathers.
If you'd like to talk to us about Hammerhead Fathers, you can find all of our contact information on our website, legendsofshield.com. We have a voicemail line, 844-THE-BUS-1. That's 844-843-2871. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and YouTube by searching for Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. And we have forums available at forums.gonnageek.com, or you can search for Gonna Geek on the Tapatalk app.
Today on Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., we're going to be welcoming Jay to the podcast. We're going to be talking about Daredevil, Shadows in the Glass. We also have Neil's Mighty Marvel Moment and a dabble into your weekly Marvel news and your feedback. First of all, Jay Witten Avocado At Law, welcome back to Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Thank you. This is fantastic. I'm really excited to talk about this episode. This was by far one of the standouts for me.
Well, of course it is. It's on awesome. You mentioned before when you were on the podcast that any Fisk episode was fantastic for you. This was a good Fisk episode. Maybe even the best. I don't know. We'll talk about it in a second. Hey, just a little reminder. We do have a contest going on. We have our Ant-Man Marvel crate, right, Haley?
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
We basically would give us a funny review of Ant-Man, right?
Oh, yeah. Was it a voicemail? Is that what we said?
Voicemail, Facebook, Twitter, review on iTunes, just a funny review on Ant-Man, and let us know that you posted it.
I guess I should go see Ant-Man then, huh?
Or you could just make one up, having not seen it.
That would definitely make for an entertaining review.
Okay. So we have the Ant-Man Marvel crate for a giveaway. Give us your funny review on Ant-Man, and you will be entered into the giveaway. Lots of great stuff in there, and I will be posting a picture of what you can win. So today, we're going to be talking about Daredevil Shadows in the Glass. And Jay, is this your favorite in the entire series?
It's definitely in the top 3. I haven't actually sat down and ranked them, and I've been going along with you guys, so I haven't been able to finish out the series yet. But yeah, between this and episode 2, I think probably those are my top 2.
Wait, you've never finished the series?
No, I mean, I have finished the series, but I watched it all in one big clump, so I can't...
So, like me, so you don't remember specific episodes?
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, I might say that this is my favorite episode because this is the only one that I remember. I'm like, okay, this episode 8, that was my favorite. I loved episode 8. That was great. And everything else got mixed together, but this one stood out to me and I remembered it.
Yeah, it was, the whole cufflinks thing, It stands out to me because you see them from the first time really that you see Fisk and the painting, the rabbit in a snowstorm, and you see the whole background to that. Oh, wow. It's scary. And you don't know what's going through his mind as he wakes up in the middle of the night in a startle and he's just got to look at this painting just like he's looking at the wall. What do you think he's getting out of that?
It's the comfort from his mother after he did the fact.
Oh,
you see after everything happened, his mom grabs him and hugs him and she's comforting him and it's like, it's okay. Everything's okay. And he's staring at the wall while that's happening.
Until he stops moving and then she goes over to him and says, "Get the saw."
Yeah.
Oh, that's cold.
Yeah. I mean, you could tell, one, she was not sad about it in the slightest. I'd like to imagine that if something like this happened to a normal person, yes, it might be like, oh, wow, they stopped him from hurting me. But then there's that moment of, he's dead. This person's gone.
Oh my God, what have you done?
Yeah. And she didn't have that. And then, like, you see, she's thought it all out. She pulls the clothes off. She lays down the thing. She had a plan. This is not the first time she has thought this through.
I know. Right. I'm surprised she didn't have a bunch of lie waiting around the house.
Well, did you guys notice in the flashbacks before the one where we finally saw him hit her, she had, like, bruises all up and down her arms? That's not the first time he's hit her.
No, yeah, but it was so very subtle.
Right.
Because the first time I didn't notice it. I only noticed it this time because I was looking much more closely and I knew what was going on.
Right.
So it's one of those things, it's a nice added detail, but it's not overstated.
Yeah, I noticed it the first time, but I remember thinking, are those bruises on her arms? No, it must have just been a shadow. Oh, those might be bruises.
Guest 446 in the chat said she had it all planned and several different scenarios. She managed to do it and not stain the carpet. That takes true planning.
Yeah, that's a genuine housewife right there. Mom knows what's going on. She knows not to mess up the carpet.
Right. So we're recording this on July 29th. This came out in April. So April, May, June, July. That's 3 months. 3.5 months have gone by, basically. And it's starting to fade in my memory, the first watch that we did through. I mean, I still remember the big stuff that's happened from here on, but watching this was almost like watching it for the first time because I've only watched it the one marathon time. And by the time the marathon got to this point, it's like, oh, geez, I just want a break, but I can't. I got to get this done because we're recording the podcast in a couple of days. So I've said it before and I'll say it again. This series, if you just watch one a day, one a week, that is good. This is not your typical Netflix series where you want to watch all 13 episodes in a day.
Yeah, you've got to give yourself time to breathe.
Yeah. Ooh. Like you said, this is a great episode. Now, flashbacks just hit me out of the blue, too, because this was our first flashback that we had from Fisk's standpoint, and it went right to that music of the time, which there's been no music in the flashbacks for Matt, has there?
No.
Not that I recall.
Not like popular music, not like radio and stuff. I'm sure there was music in there somewhere, but not like this.
It starts out so happy tune. You had all the neat cars running around. You had Stickball in the street. Remember Stickball, Jay?
Oh, yeah. Stickball.
Yeah.
His flashbacks a lot made me think of The Sandlot.
Exactly. And that's the kind of vibe that you get from it, is it's that kind of happy, everything's optimistic and it's a great world to live in and this, that, and the other. And I mean, Fisk's dad, even, that's the way it kind of starts off too, is he's got these plans and he's ambitious and he knows what's going on. He's telling his son, nothing can stop you if you put your mind to it. And it seems like a great thing. And then it all starts to go downhill from there.
Very much so. And he's not right. He hasn't been right since the incident with the signs where he was forced to kick Bernie.
Well, you can tell that he wasn't really sure what to do. Like, his dad wasn't the greatest role model to begin with. This isn't the first time that his dad tried to do something like feed him the beer or something like that. There's tension there. You can tell stuff like that has been going on before, but yeah, it definitely starts to get bad real quick.
Right.
You got to think, though, it's like there's the moment where he's standing there watching his mom take a saw to his father, who he has just murdered. It's amazing that this guy is as balanced as he is. Like, I mean, he's actually functional. That's not something you'd expect after that.
No. And the power that Wilson Fisk has comes out in the very first time that he's kicking Bernie. He kicks him a couple of times, but then he gets some power behind him. And the same thing happens with his dad when he takes the hammer to him, the back of the head, which I'm surprised he was even moving afterwards. I would kind of think that brain smashed, nothing would be twitching, but I guess it was.
Yeah, well.
Ugh, gross.
I don't know how that really works. This is when we need Lauren to tell us this kind of stuff.
You know what's even grosser than watching the smashing of his father's skull is when he's hugging his mother afterward and you look at the hammer and there's little bits of like brain and skull on the hammer.
There's chunks on it.
Yeah.
And Jay just brought it up, by the way. We haven't talked about it. Lauren is away on assignment right now. She is off doing her Conley duty and attending yet another convention, and we will miss her. She will be back next week. Don't worry about it. She will be live tweeting the episode on Tuesday night, and she will be avidly discussing both this episode and the next episode. So there you go. Foggy and Karen's and Matt's communications back and forth. I mean, they're finally a team. whatever you want to call it, Team Daredevil, Team Murdoch, whatever. And Matt finally gets behind them that they are digging it up. But Matt's like, I don't want you hurt. And Karen said, I've already been hurt. So what else are they going to do to me? Can't argue with that.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah.
And I love how, it's like he comes in all confident. He's like, all right, rule number 1. And he goes in, all right, what's rule number 2? I have no idea. I'm making this up as I go. And the fact that he's able to admit that to him, they know that he's in charge enough that he can say that kind of thing to him.
We did find out what rule number 2 was a little later, by the way. Use the phone.
Yeah.
Which I'm surprised works, by the way, since it's like 30-year-old phone lines. But
I still love the way that they put in the interactions between Foggy and Matt about his blindness. When he comes in, he'd heard him in the hallway, and he's like, man, guy's like a bat. Not blind like a
bats aren't blind, just like Matt's not blind. Woo.
But it's nice that, because that is the kind of thing that you see with people. When people are blind and they have close friends around them, there's still things like that come up. So it's nice to have that kind of natural interaction with them.
It is. You need that in this episode, too.
Oh, yeah.
You've needed that in the past 3 or 4 episodes. You need the levity that is brought forward by somebody like Foggy or Karen or Mrs. I want to say Cardenas. I can't remember her name.
Cardenas.
So you need that levity, and that's the only place you get it. You don't get it with the Evil League of Evil. You don't get it with Naboo. You don't get it with Fisk, or you kind of get it a little bit with Wesley, but he's so creepy. And
you get it a little bit from Madame Gao, but it's more just one of those things that you just sit back and be like, oh man, she's awesome. She's a badass. But you can just enjoy the fact that she is like 5 steps ahead of everybody else in that group. And that's where the humor comes from her, I think.
Did you see the look on Wesley's face when he found out that he didn't know that Wilson knew how to speak these languages?
I mean, that first look when it's revealed that Wilson knows how to speak, I don't know if it's Mandarin or Cantonese or whatever, but Chinese. I'll just generalize it. I'm sorry. Send your hate mail. No. But that look on his face when he first says that, he's like, what the heck am I here for? And then she says something about him knowing Japanese, and he like literally just drops his hands and he's like, I had my own stuff to do.
What am I doing here? Well, we find out later, and we'll get to that later, why he's there. But I want to go back to Gao. She is pivotal of everything that's going on. She could actually be doing this all on her own, but she's trying to expand her sphere of influence and try to see if she can trust the people that Wilson has consolidated around him. And we find out what happens in the end, but I mean, she's trying to stick it out, and she's saying factually, look, I'm not threatening you. This is just truth.
Right. Okay. So they say Gao has the product. The Russians had the distribution. Leland's got the financials. Mm-hmm. Nobu seems to be muscle or something with the Yakuza, whatever he's doing. What did Fisk bring to the table when he was like, hey, let's start a band?
Organization.
Yep.
He was the middleman, basically.
I feel like Leland could have done that.
No, Leland's too greedy.
Leland's not forcible, right? So Leland doesn't have the formidable, threatening body or abilities around it. You can't get in a fight with Leland. Leland will just tase you, and that's it.
He'll hit you with a bunch of snark, but he's not going to keep anybody in line.
Right.
Leland can hire a guy.
Can hire a dozen guys. Didn't think I'd ever have to state the obvious to you.
Yeah. But Guest 446 brought up a good point with Madame Gao. It's something that she said. She said, the sword is going to slice off the head. You keep your head down, and you don't want to be the one in charge because they're the one that's targeted.
Tremendous amount of respect between Gao and Fisk, though. Tremendous. Oh, yeah. And this is the first time, okay, I don't have a lot of background into these characters other than the previous movies and the minimal amount of comics that I've read, but this is the first time I realized that Fisk has spent a lot of time abroad.
Oh, yeah. Well, and he talks about that at the beginning, like when Wesley first calls him, he's on the phone talking to Vanessa, and you can hear him start, he's like, oh, I spent some time in Asia and this, that, and the other, and he's starting to lay that out so that it makes sense when it comes up later on.
Right. It was the first time that I caught into it. I mean, he had connections with all these people before, but this is the first time I was like, hey, he's actually lived over there for a long, long time. He probably went upstate to New York, went to high school, and either ran away from home or went on a foreign exchange in college and really never came back for a decade or so. So I don't know what kind of training he had. Do you know if he has any sort of martial arts training or if he's just a beat the pulp out of you sort of guy?
In the comics, he does have martial arts training. He's actually a black belt in, I want to say Taekwondo, but I think it might be something different, like judo.
That is scary with a guy's his size.
Right. And in the comics, they always remark about how he's just quick. Like, you wouldn't expect him to be as fast as he is, but he moves quick.
Yeah, wow. I'm just thinking of that danger coming at you. You're done for.
That's the thing with Kingpin. He's far more formidable than just being somebody that has a bunch of resources. He himself is physically capable, and he's an all-around threat, basically.
The relationship that he has with Wesley, it doesn't seem to me like he could pull it off on his own. He needs Wesley. He needs Vanessa in his life.
Yeah. Well, it's because he's so freaking unbalanced. I mean, look, Madame Gao calls him on his crap, and the first thing he does is flip over a marble table.
I know it was probably styrofoam, but, they made it look like it was marble. And by the way, last weekend, I had to jack my desk up, my podcast desk, because it's a solid wooden desk, and I had to put some sliders in it to move it, to put a mixer in. There's no way I'm flipping this thing over. No way. And this weighs a fraction of what a marble table would weigh.
Yeah, especially when it's 12 feet long.
Yeah, that floor had to have been reinforced underneath it. It would have had to have been a concrete floor underneath it to take that weight and not break when he flipped the thing over. Oh, geez.
Yeah.
The power. And this is the second or third time we've really seen the power. We saw it when he smashed the Russian's head. We saw it kind of in the flashbacks, and then overturning the table. I don't remember another demonstration of his forcefulness.
No, he keeps it in check pretty well. That's the thing, but as the series is going on, you start to see him become a little bit more unhinged, a little bit more desperate.
Oh, and Vanessa, when she comes in and sees it, when Wesley brings her in and she sees the table, she's, I didn't like that table, and you didn't like it either, so.
Yeah. Apparently you don't feel it.
Yeah. And then he tells her the story. She is definitely far gone with the whole story thing. I mean, Haley, would you stick around with a guy that told you that story?
No, but I thought he was kind of creepy to begin with, so I probably wouldn't have been there.
Right. So she's a little unbalanced, too, to be around that. Otherwise, we've talked about that before, how it's taken me this rewatch to at least see why she was brought in to his sphere of influence. Otherwise, she would have ran screaming, but she's there.
I do like the fact that Wesley's the one that brought her around for that, though. He was like, okay, things are really going bad. He needs something. He just needs to get laid. I'm just going to go ahead and bring her over here. Everyone's going to be better off in the end.
Right.
Probably didn't realize what Fisk considered foreplay as telling the story of how he murdered his father, but apparently it worked. I don't know.
Okay, I got a question for you guys. So in the morning after, when Vanessa is dressing him, right? And she's choosing out different clothes than he normally wears. Does he only have that one armored suit, or are they all armored suits?
They're all armored.
Okay.
I like when he's walking through the closet and it's like the suits go from black to a slightly darker black.
Right. I actually have that comment on here, and in the comics, his iconic look is the white suit. So we see him go from black, and then at the end, he's got kind of a gray, so we're getting there. He's not quite Kingpin yet, but we're getting there.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I like about this entire series, because it's all about how Daredevil becomes Daredevil instead of just, some masked vigilante. But it's also about how Wilson Fisk goes from just this person to becoming Kingpin. He's not Kingpin yet. He's not Kingpin until you get to the very end of the series. And it's a great parallel of showing how these two people become the characters that we already know that they are.
With history interacting with each other, too.
Yeah.
Kingpin versus the Hulk. Ooh.
Hulk.
Well, obviously.
There would be a smear in a gray suit.
I would still like to see it.
An undamaged gray suit, but still.
There might be no head, but the suit's just fine. Just got to find another guy the size of a truck. Oh, and the Zupa. I forgot the name of the dessert as we were podcasting about it before, but the Zupa, and you find out why he does indeed like it, because Mommy gave it to him when he was crying.
Yeah.
It's comfort food.
Did anyone else have that conflicted feeling when he starts going to town on the hammer? Because you have that one moment of you're hearing his mom being beaten, and he finally stands up to his dad, and you're like, yes, this is awesome, and you're going to back down now again. And then he hits him, and there's that initial reaction of yes! Oh, wait, no, this is bad.
Bad. And it's completely bad because she doesn't call the cops or anything. No. She just saws them up, throws them some garbage bags, and then hauls them out every week. I was thinking, how many garbage bags do you think 4, 5, 6? I think like 8 to take the dad out. So that was like 2 months that body parts were rotting.
In the kitchen?
Yeah.
No, he said every night for a week.
Oh, I thought it was once every week.
Even then, at the end of the week, it's going to be kind of ripe.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Well, that's why you get rid of the first couple and then shove the rest in the freezer.
How big of a freezer do they have?
Just the small ice box that you had like in the 70s.
So like 3 ice cube trays?
Yeah.
You could put like his forearm in there.
Maybe a foot.
You rotate pieces every couple hours.
Ew.
The first foot's starting to thaw out. Can we put that one in next?
Oh, and the mom gives him the cufflinks.
Yeah.
Was that because of an identification issue, or she was just like, you're a man now, here's the cufflinks?
Honestly, I think it was one of those things like, this is probably the most expensive thing his father had. And it was like, well, here you go. You earned these.
Yeah. Earned them. Right.
Why does he have so many cufflinks if he knows he's only ever going to wear the one pair?
Because he doesn't think about it that way. It's not a conscious choice of these are the ones I have to wear. He plans on wearing others at some point. It's just that thing of when the time comes, when he goes to put them on, he's like, I need this reminder. It's almost like a comfort thing. Like, okay. You can have big plans. You can plan on doing all kinds of different things, but when push comes to shove, that's the decision he always makes.
It's like my tie tack that I wear every day. I wear the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. tie tack, the S.H.I.E.L.D. tie tack that Kier got me. And that's why I wear every day. I have other tie tacks. That's the one I wear. Mostly because I want to see who else picks up on the fact that I'm wearing a S.H.I.E.L.D. tie tack. But not everybody does. I mean, I work with some really smart people, and you'd think they'd be into comics, and some of them just are whatever. Anyway.
Guest 446 just said the cufflinks are his power tie.
They are because he doesn't wear one.
Yeah.
He can't fit a tie around that neck.
Yeah, you could. It would just look a lot like Stan Lee's tie from Agent Carter. It'd go like 6 inches above his navel.
Or a bow tie. Bow ties are cool, right? Right, guys?
You can wear a bolo tie.
Ah, nice.
Bow ties used to be cool, not so much anymore.
So Fisk and Wesley convince, what's his name, Hoffman, the cop, to kill his partner and friend for 30 years.
How much are each of those years worth to you in round figures?
Oh, let's get down to brass tacks here.
And you know, he gave an answer.
Yeah,
he did.
He had to have. Oh, in order, he was like, okay, well, if I got to do this. And then, well, he asked, how long is it going to be until I do something to piss you off? And I'm like, well, that's up to you. Well, kind of, but people make mistakes, and he doesn't tolerate it.
Unless you just snap and smash my head in a car door.
You never know. So, Gao knows all the languages.
All of them.
All of them. She speaks baby. I don't know about you guys, but every time I watch this episode, I get the urge to go and make an omelet because that is a really, really good looking omelet.
I know, it is. And he doesn't actually use all the chives, right?
No,
he just sprinkles a few on.
He's got these, and I watched both times, he's got these bowls, well, they're not huge, but they're big hand-sized bowls next to him. And he's just sprinkling a little bit of and just the chives, not whatever else he was chopping up
salt.
Either. Oh, is that what the other one is?
He sprinkles salt and chives.
Yes, just a little bit. And then Vanessa, the third time that we see it, comes over and bounces off to him right when he's doing it. So who knows where they all went off to. It was creepy watching him do the same thing. But from the start of startling, it's not a normal startle when he wakes up either.
Yeah, no, it's like panic attack.
But it's like a lion or something. It's not like human. I don't want to be anywhere near that. And the whole thing from that to the breakfast to him getting dressed. And, the one shot, it was just one time, right? Where he actually sees himself as a bloody boy in the mirror. Oh, wow.
Yeah. And they give you that before they tell you the story, too.
Yeah. This was a well done episode. Oh, by the way, we didn't talk about it. It was written by none other than Stephen S. DeKnight. It was one of the 3 episodes. Of course, he's the showrunner for the season 1, series 1, whatever you want to call it. And it was one of 3, the first one of 3 that he written. So he waited until episode 9 before he wrote one. And it was directed by a very experienced director, Steven Surjik, and very, very familiar with Person of Interest, Warehouse 13, Burn Notice. His filmography goes back long, long time. So this was the A-team for this episode. It's probably one of the reasons why you like it so much, Jay.
Yeah.
There's not been a bad episode in the whole thing, but you got to admit, we've gone through Act 1, and this is like setting up the final act, and it's just boom in your face and well done.
Well, you see that a lot when you have multiple writers for a show, where the showrunner will come in and do like the really pivotal episodes, like the ones that are meant to change the course of the show, or ones that are meant to bring everything together, that kind of thing. So it makes sense that DeKnight would write this episode, because this really took everything that had come before and took it into a focus and said, okay, this is where the show's going now. And we see everything come like as a result from things that happened in this episode. This is the rest of the series.
Yes. From here on in, it's all set up from really Matt's accident and Fisk killing his dad.
Yeah.
We're seeing the results of that. Well, and the Avengers coming in and destroying New York, but
minor details.
Minor.
So we saw how Fisk starts his day. We also saw how Matt started his day, and it was with a shirtless scene. It's one of the few ones we got this season.
That didn't have an oozing wound.
Well, he was a little beaten up, though.
Well, yeah, beaten up is different than gaping, oozing wound.
Right.
And his apartment is completely wrecked from the stick battle still. And you still see the paper bracelet on the countertop as he leaves. And as he's leaving, he doesn't make any pretense. You know, he sees exactly everything around him after he puts on his sunglasses. He's like, yep, I got it. I need to get out of here.
Yeah.
Nobu trying to call him out and saying, hey, you lost Black Sky. It's your fault. And Fisk is like, now wait a minute.
No, this is what you asked me to. You can see him like go into lawyer mode at that point. And it's like, no, this is what you asked. This is what I delivered. It's your own fault. You didn't take care of the rest of it.
Then he backs down, though. It's like, well, sorry. I apologize. Like, really? Why?
Because this is the timid Kingpin. This isn't even a Kingpin.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I think had this happened after his press conference, it might have gone differently.
Yep. Haley, what else you got?
Nothing but quotes.
All right. Jade, you got anything before Haley gets to the quotes?
I just want you to know, your rules suck. I want that on record.
Yes, Jay, I know. It'll be okay. But yes, I know. Okay, Haley, what you got?
Full-heartedly provocative. It's Lawyer Peeker's stupid. On occasion, some dickery may leak out.
It doesn't make it not true, though.
Exactly. The coffee sucks.
Never trust the quiet ones. Those are the pricks that are always up to something.
Yeah.
We should be out on the street, cracking names and taking skulls.
I think you got that backwards. Not the way
I do it. Technically, we paid someone else to shoot him.
Oh, yes. It's like, and the cops just sitting there like, what? Does it matter?
Kid's half an idiot. It's the other half that counts.
Yep. Mr. Potter, you're talking about there, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a killer. I keep telling people that.
Right. That whole scene with Ben in the rain, that was very well done. And you know they're standing out in the rain for, I don't know, 15 minutes or whatever at the end, because Ben says, tell me everything. And you know that Matt tells him everything.
Because he writes it all up in his article that he deletes.
Delete. Come on. Save it for posterity, man.
Yep.
Is that it?
That's it.
All right. Great episode. Can't wait for the next one. The next one will be episode 9, Speak of the Devil. So that'll be a good one. Can't wait. So that's it for this week's Daredevil discussion. Great summer project. I can't believe that we had the opportunity to go back this summer and go into this. I don't know if we're going to be able to do this again the way that we're doing it now. So it's just amazing the way that we're doing it. So in the meantime, we're part of a network. Jay, you have a show on the network, right?
I do.
What's it called?
Yeah, it's Gallifrey Public Radio.
Which is a podcast. Which is a podcast about?
It's about Doctor Who.
Okay.
Never heard of it.
It's this little no-name show. It's brand new, never been around before. Yeah, every week we talk about Doctor Who and the things that are coming up. We've got Series 9 coming up in the middle of September that we're gearing up for, so it's very exciting stuff.
I just saw a news article that the intro or premiere or something like that's going to be a theatrical release.
Only one. There's one theater I believe it's in Scotland, that sold out within like seconds of it being announced.
Of course.
But they are doing a 3D release of the Series 8 series finale.
Oh, that's good too.
That's coming back September 16th, so 3 days before the premiere of the next one.
Nice.
That'll be out in theaters. So, yeah.
And Haley, I know you're a regular on this podcast, but you also produce your own podcast.
I do. It's a little show called Crimson Comet. It's about The Flash.
Oh, really? I thought it was about poop jokes.
Well, mostly.
The Flash breaks up the poop jokes.
Yep. Poop jokes, and then occasionally we mention The Flash.
Well, I also produce another show on the network called Voices of Defiance, and we've gotten really lucky these past few weeks. We've been interviewing some stars of the show, and just want to point out one in particular, episode 38, The Beauty of Our Weapons, and Jesse Rath interview. Jesse had been on Being Human. He's also been on Defiance in season 1. He is a series regular, and he had a ton of funny stories. Did either of you two have a chance to listen to the episode at all?
Yeah. He was awesome.
What was your favorite story that he told, Haley? Do you remember?
The one where, who did he meet in his bathrobe?
It was Trisha Helfer.
Trisha Helfer. That one. That was the best.
It was. So it was just hilarious. We were just cracking up the whole time. I actually tried to get him off the podcast about 4 times, and he just kept on staying on. So it was great. So go ahead, check that out. Episode 38. You can get it at GonnaGeek.com. All right. We have another treat for you. Neil's back with his mighty Marvel moment. Are you guys ready to hear it?
Absolutely.
All right. Let's go into it. All right, as I mentioned, Neil's Mighty Marvel Moment is back for the week ending July 27th, 2015. Relax, kick back, get your favorite beverage, and listen to the amazingness of Neil.
Hi agents, Neil here with your Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. Marvel Moment, covering new releases from the week of July 22nd, 2015. So, we're still in the middle of Secret Wars, but as always, there's a handful of titles that are leading up to Secret Wars, as well as a couple that seem to be ignoring it altogether. Okay, let's get into it. Leading off the pre-Secret Wars titles this week is Loki, Agent of Asgard, number 16. A Last Days title that focuses on the final lead up to Ragnarok, as well as young Loki finally facing off against future Loki. It's an epic showdown worthy of the Norse End of Days, and the combination of introspection by Loki overlaid on a mighty battle was actually quite moving. This book ends with the end of the universe, which leaves Loki in an interesting place. This issue was surprisingly good, and I'm really wondering where it might go next, as the series wraps up in issue 17. All New Hawkeye number 4 is the latest in writer Jeff Lemire and artist Ramon Perez's continuation of the Matt Fraction run, and it finds us still following the story of Clint and Kate as they try to stay one step ahead of both Hydra and S.H.I.E.L.D. The story is beautifully interlaced with Hawkeye's backstory, focusing on his relationship with the swordsman and his time as a young Carney. If you've always wanted to dig deeper into what really makes Hawkeye tick, definitely pick this one up. Magneto number 20 focuses on the last days of Magneto as the incursion event is in full swing. This issue does a great job showing the reader how far Magneto is willing to go to try to protect mutant kind, and again, it uses flashbacks to help set the stage. If you haven't been keeping up with Magneto, there are a lot of characters you may not be familiar with, but it does provide something we haven't seen before, an honest look at the lives of everyday people impacted by Magneto and how it affects them. Speaking of last days, Punisher number 20 is the final issue of Punisher leading up to the incursion event. It's told from the point of view of the Black Dawn fighters who are being taken out systematically by the Punisher. Okay, imagine you're watching a horror movie cheering for the serial killer who just happens to be the Punisher. You get the idea. It's a great story with beautiful visuals and a great way to end Nathan Edmondson's run on this title. Uncanny X-Men number 35 is the second to last issue in Brian Michael Bendis' run on this book, and it explores the rise and fall of one of the younger X-Men, including how the pre-incursion 616 media treated superhero celebrities. Parts of it actually reminded me of Wonder Man's interactions with the media from the late 1980s and early 90s, but certain aspects put the story firmly in a contemporary setting. Lastly, Spider-Woman number 9 was nearly my pick of the week, as it sees Jessica, Ben Urich, and the now reformed villain Porcupine heading out on a road trip across the US of A. Okay, I'll admit it, I'm a sucker for a superhero road trip story. As expected, along the way you have some wacky adventures with D-list baddies, an evil small-town sheriff, and, well, I won't spoil it for you. Now, let's dive back into Secret Wars. Old Man Logan number 3 by Brian Michael Bendis continues this excellent Secret Wars series, and this month we see how Old Man Logan deals with Technopolis and more versions of people who he remembers from his past. The interactions are engaging, and the book ends on a serious cliffhanger. However, it has veered further away from the Old West feel and sweeping vistas that originally drew me to it, but at this point, I think I'm in for the long haul. Marvel Zombies number 2 also came out this week, and I continue to be super impressed by this title. Marvel Zombies continues the story of Elsa Bloodstone beyond the wall as she makes her way through the shattered wasteland filled with zombies, carnage creatures, and an assortment of other monsters, all with her mysterious young charge in tow. Field stripping a zombified MODOK for weaponry was actually hilarious, and the ending will have you on the edge of your seat waiting to see where this goes. Future Imperfect number 3 finds Ruby Summers and a motley crew from the Rebel Alliance trying to storm the Maestro's palace. This series takes an unexpected twist when the rebels finally find the Thing and discover the Maestro's plans and what they're really up to. Again, Greg Land's art is surprisingly good, and I'm curious to see where this book goes as the story dovetails into the search for the ultimate weapon. And for fans of classic X-Men, E is for Extinction number 2 also came out this week. It basically focuses on Grant Morrison's new X-Men as they face off against Magneto's U-Men. Okay, the art in this book is pretty stylized, so you're either going to love it or hate it. Unfortunately, it's just not for me, and I haven't been able to get into this title. My Marvel pick of the week this week is Star-Lord and Kitty Pryde number 1. So a few weeks ago in my review of Atlan Rising number 1, I mentioned one of the highlights for me was Peter Quill singing on stage in Black Bolt's nightclub. This book actually focuses on Peter Quill, the lounge singer, and what happens when he runs into his former fiancée, Kitty Pryde. Oh, did I mention that Star-Lord remembers everything that happened before Secret Wars and is actually in hiding? I was pleasantly surprised and caught off guard by the art, and quickly realized that the style, as well as certain aspects of the story, are an obvious homage to Marvel's parent company, Disney. This issue combines humor with tongue-in-cheek references to craft an enjoyable and relatively light-hearted tale that should leave a smile on your face. That's it for new releases. Now let's dive into the long boxes where we crack open the Mylar and take a look at a classic back issue. My long box pick of the week this week is in honor of the announcement of Frank Castle, aka The Punisher, coming to Netflix as part of Season 2 of Daredevil. This week I look back at Garth Ennis' iconic Punisher storyline, The Slavers, from the Marvel Max imprint in 2005. Marvel Max was created as an adult-only imprint, seemingly made for a character as raw as the Punisher to deal with issues like human trafficking and slavery. Make no mistake, this series is extremely graphic in both the topics it deals with and in the written and visual content. That being said, The Slavers still stands as one of the most honest and gripping Punisher storylines since the character's inception. Moreover, it clearly illustrates the differences between Matt Murdock's character in the Netflix Daredevil series and the Punisher, and perhaps it gives us a hint of how dark they can take the character. Again, that's Garth Ennis' Punisher trade paperback, The Slavers, collecting Punisher issues 25 through 30 from November 2005 from Marvel Max. That's it for this week, folks. If I missed a release that came out, head over to the forums and share your thoughts, or send in a voicemail to the Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. crew. Later, guys!
Thank you very much, Neil. You are amazing as always. And I might want to add here a little plug. So both Ferris and Neil have been hitting us pretty hard about this Marvel Unlimited thing. And they had a deal for Ant-Man where they were giving it in a penny for a month. And he goaded me into doing it. So yes, I do have Marvel Unlimited now. I was browsing around in there, and browsing is definitely the term to use because there's a button that says browse. So did it. and I've been paging through it. So, Haley, I'm not starting in 1963, but...
You're doing it wrong.
I know. Yeah. I'll do it as right as I can. How about that?
I guess. I don't like it.
Did you guys have any favorite moments of Neil's reviews this week?
No, I've been enjoying them because it's hard to keep up with all the Marvel stuff, and I've been trying, but I just keep falling further and further behind. So it's nice to kind of get that little taste and be like, okay, this is what I've missed. I need to read that one. I can skip over these. Okay, we're good. It's very, very helpful.
I hate it because it's spoiling everything.
Don't worry, you've still got like 50 years before you have to remember all that stuff.
You'll get there sooner or later. All right. Thank you very much, Neil. We want them to keep coming, so keep them coming, sir. Absolutely. All right. We're going to move on to some news. So since the last time we did news and recorded, there was a little thing that happened in San Diego called San Diego Comic-Con. Did you guys hear anything about that? Paying attention?
I think I've heard the name before, but yeah.
All right. So they had San Diego Comic-Con, and I think it was about that time that four main characters from Agent Carter and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. decided to do a little competitive thing, right, Jay?
Oh, yeah. So for anyone that doesn't know, there's an app that's come out recently called Dub Smash, which just basically gives you a sound clip and then it records you so that you can lip sync or whatever, and it puts the video together with the sound. So it's very easy to do and it's a lot of fun to mess around with. Well, apparently Haley Atwell decided that this is how she was going to spend all of her time at the convention when she wasn't on stage for something or another. And some of the videos coming out were hilarious. And she did a couple with, I can't remember his name now, but the guy that plays Ward. They had a couple together and things like that. And then apparently Chloe Bennett found out about it and decided she was going to respond to it. And so she and Clark Gregg decided to do one and tag Haley Atwell in it. And it was more just kind of bouncing back and forth. And they went back and forth the whole time. And it just escalated into this all-out war when you have all four of them together in the same video, and Haley Atwell and James Darcy doing one of Chloe Bennett's songs from when she was back when she was a pop star. And it kept spiraling out of control, and it was the greatest thing in the world. It's like, this right here was what Twitter was invented for. So there'll be a link in the show notes for it, because you have to go. They've compiled the whole thing, and it's amazing some of the kind of things that they put together and some of the people they brought in to be a part of it as well.
It's definitely, it's a riot to watch it. It's not very long either. I mean, each clip is like about 10 seconds, so it's no big deal, but it's really funny what they're able to do. And they're all in on it, and they're all just having fun with it. So it's amazing. And oh, by the way, Chloe Bennett was a pop star in Asia, and it took me about 5 minutes to convince Shannon of that. And like, yeah, Chloe Bennett's a pop star. And no, yeah, Chloe Bennett's a pop star. Yeah. Okay. So finally you got her to admit it. So there you go. Oh, it's fun. And then the latest one that just came out today with Clark Gregg was pretty funny with the, with the Haley Atwell monarch costume on, with the, the red hat and the blue dress and the
smeared makeup.
The smeared makeup. That was awesome. Oh, it's funny. Oh, by the way, season 3 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is under production now. That's amazing. We will be getting it soon. And it can't wait. It's going to be good. It's going to premiere on Tuesday, September 29th. It's probably going to have some sort of a tie-in to Civil War. So I just can't wait to see what that leads up to. And, Haley, did you see this story that the showrunners for Agent Carter are talking about writing on Captain Marvel?
Yeah, I've heard about this before, actually. I've been listening to the Women of Marvel podcast.
Yeah.
And they've brought it up several times. They had an interview with the two of them, actually. It's pretty fantastic. Everyone should go listen to that. Fazekas and Butters.
Right. It's going to be good. Going to be good.
I have complete faith in their ability to do a good job on this.
I know.
They know a little bit about writing female characters in the Marvel Universe.
Mm-hmm. So, along these lines, but not in the Marvel Universe, are you keeping track of the whole Wonder Woman movie?
No.
Director? Okay.
I've lost faith.
Right. Well, I mean, they've had to change. It's like an Edgar Wright thing, right? Where Edgar was pushed out, their director, producer, whatever it was pushed out.
The only thing that I was a little hopeful about with the Wonder Woman movie was the first director, Michelle McLaren.
Yes.
And then it was like, oh, she's not doing it because of reasons. I was like, oh, that's good. Awesome.
Yeah, just great. So we also have a couple of links to put in there in the show notes about the Netflix series. Stephen tonight's talking about Daredevil's Punisher. Jessica Jones will be even more damaging than in the comics, which we will wait to discuss that for Lauren to come back, because Lauren will go nuts about it anyway. And then, did you see the release schedule for the Defenders?
I had heard that Jessica Jones was definitely coming this year, probably in November or December. I hadn't heard anything more specific than that.
I've heard that they were planning on a new series or a new season of a series like every 6 months, I think.
Right. I read the same thing.
Yeah. Marvel's Jessica Jones will premiere by the end of 2015. And the crossover for the Defenders after each has launched, but that some will have multiple series prior to that. Daredevil will have season 2 before the crossover. So it's kind of like Iron Man, I guess, in that aspect with the Avengers. So season 2 is planned for early 2016. So I wouldn't expect to see Defenders until mid or late 2016 at the earliest, probably 2017 really. So there you go. We'll keep you informed as soon as we know. And then I saw a little article about Michael Douglas not having any more Marvel contracts. What's up with that? They didn't option him at all?
You don't really need him though to go forward because he's not the Ant-Man. Scott Lang is.
No, but he could be doing some cameos, kind of like what they did at the beginning of the Ant-Man movie, right? With Haley Atwell and company.
True.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you do anything, the only thing that would really make sense is have him pop up in Agent Carter, but they don't have the kind of budget to bring Michael Douglas in.
Or to make him look like he would, however long ago?
Yeah, that's
60 years ago, 70 years ago.
Go Tron Legacy route.
Right. I did see an article depicting exactly how they did that, so I might throw that in the show notes for next week. We'll see. Talking about different movies, by the way, Marvel's Avengers Age of Ultron Blu-ray trailer has some special features to it. Did you guys take a look at that? Some of the special features are?
Not yet.
All right. Well, one of them is an in-depth look into the gems, the power gems, right? The gauntlet. So they're trying to educate the masses on what's going on with that for sure. So that'll be exciting. Haley, have you seen the special Rogue Cut yet?
I bought it, and I haven't had a chance to watch it yet.
No, we were all waiting for so long. I thought it was on an automatic buy for me, and it never happened, so I'm just going to have to go out and get it now. I thought it would show up the day it came out, and it did not. I'm like, what's up with that? Ugh.
See, the problem is it's one of those movies that I've watched so many times already now that I'm like, well, do I really want to watch it again just for that extra couple minutes?
Did you buy like the DVD or Blu-ray of the original release?
Yeah, I got it as a gift.
Oh, okay.
I did not buy it the first time around because I was like, nope, I'm waiting.
I know, I didn't either.
That's what I was doing too. But somebody gave it to me and I'm like, well, it's sitting there on my shelf looking all lonely and forlorn and I had to give it some attention, so.
Forlorn. Yeah, I haven't seen it, so I want to. Yeah, I want to see a lot of other movies like Big Hero 6 and Live, Die, Repeat, stuff like that. So I got to catch up.
I think it's really dumb that they changed the title for the DVD release.
I know.
It makes no sense at all.
Where was I? I was somewhere. Oh, I was in my workout room getting on the treadmill right before I was going to put Daredevil on. And it was on the Sci-Fi Channel. And they had Will Smith in that reboot zombie movie. What was that called in New York?
I Am Legend.
I Am Legend. Thank you. And it was at the end part. And I was kind of captivated. But I'm like, no, I got to watch Daredevil. No, I want to watch this. No, I want to watch Daredevil. And that got me thinking of Independence Day. I'm like, Will Smith needs to be in Independence Day too.
That doesn't really need to be an Independence Day too, but whatever.
Ooh, Haley Dumb's fighting words. Because that's just a fun flick. It's a fun popcorn summer flick. Yeah,
it's fun. Go watch it again. There doesn't need to be another one.
Yeah, okay. Something that somebody else wants to not do, I guess there is rumors, not confirmation, but Mr. Tatum might be exiting a $150 million budget film. What up with that?
I personally am thrilled with this news, but that's just because Gambit has always been my favorite X-Men, and
Tatum is not your favorite?
No.
Who would you choose to play Gambit in lieu of Mr. Tatum?
I really haven't given it much thought because it seemed like such a set thing that he was going to be the one to play it that I never really stopped to consider. But I'm just thrilled because now I can actually go watch the movie and just full on enjoy it instead of like, man, this would be really good if this guy wasn't in there.
Yeah. So Star Wars is coming up. Bunch of Star Wars news out there. Just hang in, folks. We'll be in there with you until December. It's amazing. And we just can't wait. So something else we can't wait for, of course, is The Flash to return, because we are fans of all comics, all sci-fi. I mean, we're not just Star Trek fans, we're Star Wars fans. We're not just Marvel fans, we're DC fans, obviously, because all three of us have a DC podcast as well. But Haley, you talked about it before, Crimson Comet. What are you guys doing this summer?
We thought, by we I mean
they're being
I,
some masochists.
I thought it would be a good idea to go back and watch the 1990s Flash series, because, you know, it kind of, we've got John Wesley Shipp, he's playing the Flash's dad now, who's the Flash then. Oh, sure, this is going to be fun and campy and silly and just a good time all summer. And that is not the case.
Just to steal a little bit from your own show, what have we learned?
That old things are dumb.
I will say I have learned that, and not just from today, but I have learned that when Haley puts something on the schedule, you watch it no matter how bad it is.
We've committed to this. We're going to go all the way through the series. We're going to finish it this summer. It is not a good time.
Right,
not for us. For people listening to the podcast, it's great because you get to hear our suffering. But for us, having to actually watch the show, it's terrible.
I was just listening to episode 18, it was on my iPod, and I was listening to it in the car, which is not the rewatch. It was your cartoon. It was in the hiatus in between the mid-season finale and whatever, and you guys did some cartoons. I will say, when you guys were off topic, that was my favorite parts of the podcast.
I'm just going to say, as somebody who grew up, I remember watching this show when I was a kid, and even as a 9-10-year-old, when you announced that you were going to watch the show, I was thrilled because I knew how horrible it was going to turn out.
Nobody warned us.
Even as a 9-year-old, I knew it was a horrible show.
I have gone back and tried to rewatch stuff. So I have rewatched Battlestar Galactica, the original one, right? And I got through it because it's just that awesome to me. But I understand people that don't want to watch it. Sequest DSV, right? I've tried to watch that. I've gotten through the second season. There is a third season that completely changed the premise of the show, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. So that was a couple of years ago now. I'm kind of glad I haven't gotten any further. So yeah, all these old shows that you think are just great, and I can't believe it was, and it was great at the time because we didn't have the CGI or the writing that we have at the time now.
I went back and watched a bunch of the old Wonder Woman show, and it's campy and it's fun and I enjoy it, and I was like, oh, the Flash is going to be kind of like this.
And it was not.
It is not like that.
Was there just one season?
Thank God, yes.
So that's it for the news. We're going to get into some feedback. Well, we don't have an incredibly large amount of feedback to go through, just one big one. Adam Nelson, you might know him as Black Adam. He has guested on the podcast before. On Twitter, he is at Starsaber_222. He tweeted us this, and it could have gone in the news section, but I wanted to give all credit to Adam for giving us a news story. Hey, Chloe got a haircut.
For the show.
So
now she looks more like comic book Quake.
Daisy Johnson. Yeah.
Right? So she's probably going to be even more superhero-y going into season 3.
So
booyah.
For everybody that's been complaining about how this is a superhero shows without any superheroes, guess what? We got ourselves one. Got ourselves more than one, but we got ourselves a Quake. So that is awesome. And those gauntlets are just huge. They're like mech. Oh, wow.
I bet they don't give her those.
Yeah, probably not. But
I'd like to see them as a prototype, though. It's like, this is our first go on these things. And just have her say, these are completely impractical. I cannot possibly function in these things.
Have her, keep accidentally banging them against stuff.
And the podcast we did with the panel that she did was just amazing. The women of Marvel are it's just very entertaining, very enlightening, very fun to listen to. So it's great. Chloe Bennett, thank you very much for being a good sport and cutting your hair, because we all want to see the Quake.
Yeah, she had said during the interview about it that the only thing she wished she had done differently during the haircut was brought tequila with her, because she was freaking out the whole time.
So that's it for the feedback section for this week. We will have a larger feedback section next week. Don't forget, get us your funny Ant-Man reviews if you want your Marvel crate. Give us some feedback on Daredevil, feedback on the podcast, your Science of Marvel questions. We will have Lauren back, so we will have 3 science-related people here. And Jay, you kind of are in the virtual world now, so you kind of can answer some of those as well.
Yeah.
So we're going to wrap this up real quick for this week. Woohoo! Next week, we'll be discussing Daredevil, Episode 9, Speak of the Devil, as I mentioned before. Neil, I talked to him. He's already working on next week's stuff. It is awesome. The production value that guy brings is just great. And by the way, stay tuned for some of the outtakes from his recording session. After I told him he didn't have to do it in one take anymore, he's getting a little bit more liberal. It's kind of funny. So just listen to the outtakes. It'll be great. We will have a special guest with us in studio, and Lauren will be back. Hey, don't forget, we have a website, legendsofshield.com. We have a voicemail line, 844-THE-BUS-1 or 844-843-2871. We have a Facebook account, Twitter account, Tumblr account. We have a YouTube channel that has all the great Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcasts that have been out to date in audio form with our cool little logo on it. Also, we have forums, forums.gonnageek.com. Those are always fun to go into. A lot of funny stories get told there. So, Jay, thank you very much. I really appreciate you coming on, especially with Lauren gone. We needed some Jay on this podcast.
Well, that goes for every week, but yeah, especially this week, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
No, it was a blast. I enjoy being on the show every time I can. So thank you guys for having me, especially for this episode, because like I said, this is absolutely amazing. I love it. I will speak for Lauren. Thank you to everybody that interacts with our Twitter account, and especially the live tweets when she's doing it on Tuesday nights, a regular time, 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central. And I will say for Lauren, she loves you, because she says that every week. So she definitely, she hasn't gone away. She's just on assignment this week. And I want to thank Adam for getting us the awesome feedback, keeping us in the loop and in the know. Absolutely. And Neil, thanks very much, buddy, for the Marvel moment. I love hearing that every week, so that's great. So, until next time, I'm Agent Stargate Pioneer. I'm Agent Haley. And I'm Jay, Avocado at Law. Bye. See you next week. Bye.
Thank you for listening. If you want to leave us feedback, go to gonnageek.com and you will find all of our contact information and other shows. You can also visit legendsofshield.com, where you'll find our complete archive of podcasts. The music heard on this podcast is by Kevin MacLeod and can be found at incompetech.com. The opinions heard on this podcast are those of the individual host and do not represent Legends, Stream, or Gonna Geek. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is the property of the Disney Corporation. No infringement is intended.
This issue combines humor with tongue-in-cheek references to craft an enjoyable and relatively lighthearted tale that should leave a... That's it for new releases. Now let's dive into the long boxes where we crap open the...
Hey, just a little reminder, we do have a contest going on. We have our Ant-Man Marvel crate, right, Haley? Yeah, it's pretty sweet. And to get that, what do you have to do, Haley? I don't remember. Admin pause. Guest 446. You can only hear SP. Is that correct? Ruh-roh. I know. Go ahead, guys. Talk a second. But I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk either, especially to you guys. Hold on. Microphone. Test. Go ahead. Talk. Talking some more. Test 1 2. Test 1 2. Check. Check. That's not working. Rutabaga. Peas and carrots. Go ahead. Talk. I know New York. I need New York. I know I need unique New York. Yes, guest 446. There are no girls because there's only one girl. Yeah. Yeah. The girls. All right. Where were we? Ant-Man. Can he hear us now? Guess
Can you hear me?
446. Can you? There she. Okay.
There I is.
There you. Okay. All right. So, Ant-Man.
While we're admin paused, do you need to put your network promos in?
We're all sorts of
Doing
prepared.
it live.
All sorts of prepared tonight. Absolutely.
Is professionals.
Yeah.
It's a professional operation.
In case none of you know, both Haley and I are screwing around with new mixers or different mixers or whatever. So please bear with us. We've got some audio stuff going on.
Don't try and blame this one on me.
I wasn't. Just on you. I said both of us.
Uh-huh.
All right, we'll do that one, and then we'll do that one.
See, now you just have one terrible admin pause to cut out instead of two when you realize their network promo, like, oh, whoops.
That would have been easy. I would have just done exactly what I did. All right. So, yes, Marvel, yeah, we've missed you too. Ileana, RVS, we did. Yeah, and Jay, there goes the neighborhood. There goes the block. There goes the city, really. Okay. Cardenas. So you need that levity, and that's the only place you get it. You don't get it with the Evil League of Evil. You don't get it with Naboo. You don't. Broadcast has been successfully terminated.